ये एक मंजिल है तो रास्ते भी होंगे और एक मेंटर भी जो मुश्किलों को आसान बना दे। नतीजे संयोग नहीं होते, दूसरों से बेहतर स्कोर होते हैं। GS Score, an institute for civil services.
Good career is a process, and mentoring at GS Score is driven by primarily two objectives. One is empowerment and another is excellence. This is what we are known for.
कामयाबी की राह पर 1000 से भी ज्यादा निशान। GS Score।
हेलो एवरीवन, मेरा नाम केवी श्रीकांत है। मैं इंडियन फॉरेस्ट सर्विस 2022 एग्ज़ाम में ऑल इंडिया रैंक 1 हासिल किया था। मैं इस वीडियो में अपनी जियोलॉजी के स्ट्रैटेजी के बारे में बताना चाहता हूँ। इन सेकंड अटेम्प्ट आई हैव डिसाइडेड दैट आई विल गिव फॉर द इंडियन फॉरेस्ट सर्विस, सो आई टुक जियोलॉजी एंड फॉरेस्ट्री एज द ऑप्शनल्स एंड आई हैव गिवन द जियोलॉजी एज माई ऑप्शनल इन सिविल्स ऑल्सो, which I kept as a backup. So I thought I need thorough preparation for geology. I have gone through some toppers strategies, and then firstly what I did was many toppers suggested KM Bangar, so I have read the KM Bangar and got an idea about the geology, what the subject is all about. So I have read the book in 10 days and got a fair idea about what geology is. So in order to understand the concepts more in depth, I've taken the IGNOU material of geology and read the IGNOU in 1 month. But I wouldn't suggest the whole material is useful for the exam, but it is useful for certain topics of core geology like mineralogy, paleontology, stratigraphy, etc. You can refer IGNOU. So after reading these two, I didn't make notes out of this. So for this exam, you need notes to reproduce and to revise and to reproduce in the exam. The notes which I have followed was in 2021 IFS rank 11 Apurv Dikshit sir notes which was made from the planet geology. I have taken that notes for consolidation. I have read that notes only. I was able to understand the notes because I have read Bangar and IGNOU beforehand. So if you are comfortable with reading the notes, you can go for the notes. The quality of the notes is very good. It was also exam oriented. So I have taken the printouts of these notes. I have studied these notes. Particularly in geology, the main pros are it is a scientific subject. Whether you know the answer for this particular question or you don't know the answer for this question. So there is no answer writing practice in geology. I haven't made any much answer writing practice for geology. Because for humanities optional and GS papers, I believe we need answer writing, but for scientific optionals, we need to have multiple revisions of the subject and understanding of the subject to write and present well in the exam. So I haven't written much test series for the geology and forestry, but I have did many revisions for the geology. Coming to the easier parts of the geology, we have section A in geology, which is easy, and also section B in paper 2, which contains mining geology, economic geology, and geochemistry and environment geology. So these 6 chapters out of 12 are easy chapters. You can go through them through standard books like Bangar or PK Mukherjee or notes and read and revise them. And for the hard parts like paper B, section B of paper 1 and section A of paper 2, this is the core geology, and you need to put in some effort because geology, this core geology, you have to memorize lot of things and it will take some time, and it might also be daunting. Even once upon a time I've thought why I took geology for Indian Forest Service, because it may appear hard on the first reading, but if you persevere and do subsequent revisions for this geology, you will get used to the subject. Once you get comfortable with the subject, you will score well in the civils as well as the Indian Forest Service. Personally, my mock was civils geology this year 2022, that is my first test series or mock for geology. I've got 271 out of 500 in the civils, and in forest service examinations I've got 278 out of 400. Coming to the paper 1, I've got 152 out of 200. What helped me was I've attempted more questions, more number of questions from the section B, which is core geology, the paleontology and stratigraphy. In addition to this, revising the notes, I have also made notes of the PYQs, the previous year questions. I have also made some notes about the syllabus points which are missed in the notes and the syllabus and the standard books. So this PYQ notes also helped me in scoring good marks. For example, in this section B, there was a question about hominidae. In addition to explaining the evolutionary trend of the hominidae, I've also drawn the cranial capacity increase by drawing the skulls from Australopithecus to the Homo sapiens. This I found from the internet, and this is also a previous year question which I have added to the this year question. So like that, value addition will give differential to your paper. So do this PYQ notes and also study from the IGNOU for the core geology, and gather the, and don't be frightened by the IGNOU. You just don't need to read everything. You take the diagrams and the concepts and get the conceptual clarity from the IGNOU and present them in your answers. For example, in trilobites question, in addition to the standard content, I have also given diagrams which are given in the IGNOU. There are many diagrams about the trilobites. Similarly, we have the topics of different animals in the paleontology in the IGNOU. Other example I can think is in Darwin question in this year's IFS paper, I have listed the chart and the subformations in the Darwin group which was given in the IGNOU. In addition to this, there are questions like drainage basin morphometry indices, which I have did PYQ notes. It was a question from the PYQ, and there is also parasite folds to interpret the larger folds. This question is also a PYQ, so I have made some easy notes, not much depth notes, just one page notes on these topics. So I was able to reproduce this in the exam. So I think this value addition, in addition to the revision of the geology notes, which helped me in scoring good marks. So finally, what I would like to conclude is that while writing in the exam, have that technical perspective and give the technical jargon of the geology, and draw diagrams whenever is necessary. It is mentioned in the QCAB that diagrams, sketches whenever required is appreciated, and also write chemical formulas and other things in the mineralogy chapter, etc., and revise multiple times so that you will get that ease for the subject. Starting, it might seem very difficult. You need to remember a lot of things in paleontology, stratigraphy, mineralogy, igneous and metamorphic petrology, etc. But persevere. Once you have done with this hard lifting, you will get the ease with the subject, so that you can attempt with much technicalities, so that you can fetch more marks in the exam. So have this perspective while writing the actual paper. So we have covered paper 1. I have did the value additions from the PYQs and the IGNOU, and for paper 2 I have followed the notes after the Bangar and the IGNOU. Also did the value addition from the PYQs. Paper 2, the hard topics are from the section A, which are igneous and metamorphic petrology, sedimentology, mineralogy and optical mineralogy, etc. So give focus for these concepts to get a conceptual clarity. Revise them multiple times to have that ease. So for people doing it in short time, I would suggest read these notes if you can understand, or take coaching, or make your own notes. Many times many people are not comfortable with others' notes, but I personally would like to not make the notes. So I've read Apurva Dixit sir's notes. So for people doing it in short time, take the coaching or read the notes, revise it multiple times, and have your value addition. And while attempting the paper, have this in mind that you have to attempt in technical way wherever is necessary. So general tips for the geology I would like to say is that revise through diagrams and try to draw diagrams in the attempting the paper. Thirdly, you need to by heart some things in geology where you won't be understanding some concepts. Personally, I found some concepts in structural geology and crystallography, the stereographic projections and all. I have by hearted them. Rest of the concepts I have understood what is actually the concept. So don't by heart everything. Understand, have a conceptual clarity, but for some particular things you need to by heart. Do that, have one page notes on that particular difficult topic and move on, because you need to cover the geology holistically, because you have to cover 200 marks and which comes from the whole syllabus. While my strategy for attempting the optional papers was, I have divided the 3 hours in 6 half an hours. For the first 5 half an hours, I have completed the 5 questions. The left out questions were done by me in the last half an hour, which are usually 10 markers. So this half an hour strategy, I used to attempt these 5 questions in 5 half an hours, and that last half an hour I used to do this 10 markers which are left out, so that I can complete the paper as a whole and not leaving anything behind. So this is my strategy for attempting the paper. So these are the general tips for the geology. Revise well and write with a technical angle. You will definitely do good in the geology. Thank you DKT for giving me this opportunity to share my option strategy with the fellow aspirants.